Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley, and I know you're in for a treat today because I have my amazing friend, Rowena Van Gelder, with me. She is a Clubhouse strategist, if I can say that word today, and a leadership coach. And she is rocking it in the Clubhouse world. I am so excited to have you here, Rowena. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. This is just like Clubhouse, but with video.
Right? So, I know it's like we get to chit chat and do the audio, but we actually can see each other, which I kind of miss on the Clubhouse side. Like sometimes I'm like, but I want to see people and see like what their like reaction is sometimes on Clubhouse, because sometimes there's some like fun, heated conversations. And I'm like, I wonder what they are like actually thinking right now. Or if they're like, you could tell sometimes people are driving or they're in their kitchen doing stuff and like they're multitasking. So it's super fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I actually met up with a few people yesterday from Clubhouse. So I actually did meet people in person. And so that's a different story. But thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here and just really lean in and hear your story of how you came into leadership coaching and like Clubhouse strategy and those different pieces. But before we dive too far into your story, I've really been enjoying just kind of asking like, how are you at the beginning of these conversations, and like really just checking in and seeing how things are going. I know we're a year and who knows what now into like this new normal of our lives, and so many things have changed. So let's just check in for a minute. How have things been for you?
That's a good question. Okay, so March 2020, when COVID hit, like everyone else, won't lie, it was bumpy. I was finishing a contract role in corporate, and it was a bumpy ride because it's like, well, when am I going to pick up my next job? I've got 2 kids, and so of course all the fears started to come in. And then the silver lining happened, right? And then basically I landed a consulting job during COVID. And when you're walking in those seasons, you don't necessarily understand it until you come out of it.
Yeah.
And so obviously just taking it day by day like everyone else. And a year after, so fast forward all that, a year after, I can say I like, it's amazing. It's amazing because I now get to work from home indefinitely, just as part of my corporate gig. And I never thought that was going to be a possibility because I was always in the office 9 to 5. And you had to be there and be the early one in and the late one out. And now I get to work remotely and it's an indefinite thing. And so being a mom, running my own side business, running my corporate business, it's a lot. So I'm on the up and up now.
Yeah, I love that. And you're so right. Like for so long, so many of us, like my background was retail management. And so I had to be at work to work
right.
my career. Like that was what I had to do. I had to show up. I had to be there. I had to be there for long hours. And I opened, I closed. I didn't know whether I had slept or not half the time.
Right.
And it's so nice. I feel like for so many people in like the corporate America, corporate any world these days, like where corporations are like, oh, like we can actually let our people work from home and they're more productive and they're happier and they're not sitting in traffic for 2 hours a day trying to get to and from the office. And it's like so many corporations who were so afraid to let their employees even do like 1 day a week at home have been, catapulted out into letting them do this full time. And it's like it's changing so many people's lives. They're able to really like lean into who they are and show up in a better light. And even the schools, I know here in California, like they were afraid to do virtual or to do homeschooling or virtual homeschooling type things. And I know for like the next year, even though classes will go back to normal and you can go on campus, they're opening the doors to people, the kids that want to be homeschooled,
right,
to actually be in that type of environment. And so many beautiful things have come out of this time. There's been devastation and heartbreak and so much loss. But I think it's definitely changed our culture and changed the environment that people are like the new normal is like going to be so much better.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, if you think about the millennials, right, it's so fascinating. Like, look at the generations, they're X, Y, boomers, all that stuff. And then you look at the millennials and it's fascinating because the millennials are actually 30 years of age and 40s, right? We think of them as the young, like 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds. They're not.
They've grown up.
Right. They've grown up, right? They're actually 30s and 40-year-olds in the corporate world. And so it's interesting because in Australia, before COVID, Australia was culture a little different. And so we had, I guess, probably more work-life, I don't want to say work-life balance, we had more work-life integration. There's like probably a better appreciation of, leisure and family time. Yeah. And so to go from that to then go to corporate America, and I was like, whoa, what? Like, we're going to get 2 weeks of leave PTO here? Like, huh? And you don't want me to take that in a block? Because in Australia, I would just take 4 weeks off in a block, totally acceptable. And so I had to kind of step back in time in corporate America. So back to what you're saying with COVID, yeah, it changes everything. It has changed the way we think. I feel like we're so much like we're just more creative now. Disruptive innovation is there, and we get to be creative now. And the millennials are kind of like, yay! It's time to change.
They've been like, we've been prepping for this forever.
Yes. Yes.
They like the whole world is like, oh, like you're onto something here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I think it's exciting, totally exciting.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that too, like about Australia, because you're so right. Other countries are so much, I don't know if better is the right word, but like they've really taken into consideration people's lives and like that harmony of family and work. And for some reason, America, like when I was in retail management, like I was afraid to take time off because I was afraid that something would go wrong while I wasn't there, or I was made to feel like, oh, well, you can't go on that vacation because we have a district walk, or we have this coming up, or this is going on. And that was like the main reason I left. Like I loved my job, I loved what I did, and the people I got to support and help. But I was like, I can't be a part of this forever. Like I'm like, I need like me time. I need to reset or recharge and like have some of that stuff available to me. And I was never going to get it in that culture. And so
absolutely yep, everything that you're saying.
Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, so how do I do this? Like, how do I start my own business so I can have that freedom and flexibility? And thank God I made it like 14 years later. Like I'm still in business and doing what I love and able to have that freedom, because I didn't get it. Like my oldest son, it was just me and him back then. And man, it was hard being a single mom and trying to like be a great mom and be a great worker and like do all the things. And I'm like, oh, like you can have it all. It just doesn't have to feel like stressful and icky like I was made to feel back then.
Absolutely. And I think that's a lot of reasons. I think a lot of the times, a lot of people leave corporate for that reason. Yeah. Freedom of choice, doing meaningful work that you want to do and are passionate about, and then having the freedom to, in terms of time, to do that. So do what you love, when you want, where you want. A lot of people live in the corporate world for that freedom and flexibility.
Exactly. Most of the clients that I work with are like, all right, like how do I make good money and not have to work 60 plus hours a week? And I'm like, okay, I got you. We got this. Because most of my clients work 30 hours a week or less, and they are still making great money. They're still doing the work that they love. They're joyful and living out like their purpose in life. And I'm like, that's the key to success right there, right? Is like having the ability to choose, this week I'm going to work a lot. Next week I'm going on vacation, or looking at your calendar some days and going, you know what? I just need a day. I just need a day for me. And it's like, is this the day that I can do it? And you're like, yep, I can. Like, we're going to move a couple things around and make it happen.
Yay, I'm so happy for you. That's great.
So I want to hear a little bit about your story and your journey into entrepreneurship. So I know that you're still working in corporate, and then you have an amazing business on this. I don't even want to call it on this. Like, I hate that word side hustle, because I guess it's a side hustle, but like you have this amazing business that you are out there creating relationships and helping other people really step into who they are, as well as stepping into like the Clubhouse platform. Tell me a little bit about how that came to be, how you started this journey.
Oh my gosh, okay. I'll try and be really brief, because sometimes I can go on my tangents and you have to pull me up. So I'm in corporate. I have a HR background, 20 years in corporate. I won't bore you with those details. But during my time in corporate Australia, I actually had an executive leadership coach. And to be honest, I didn't really understand what that was, right? I knew about talent development, about leadership and succession planning, blah, 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 blah. And then I got one. And he literally, apart from your family, apart from your faith, he was probably the next person in line that changed everything. It changed my career path, just how I was thinking. And I literally, at that point in time, this is 5 years ago, I was like, right, how do I be you? Because the work that you were doing within me was transformational. It was self-reflection, self-awareness. How do I be better? And it just blew my mind. So that was 5 years ago. And so then we moved to Atlanta, and I'm still in touch with him. And I was like, okay, how do I be you? Because I need to now pivot from HR into executive coaching. And he was like, okay, I'll get you connected. So I went to conferences, I got connected. I became a certified coach via ICF. And so I was like, amazing. So now I'm here. And like through that program, it was a 2-year journey of going through that program. So more work on me, going through the whole experience. And then as part of that program, that's when I was picking up private clients. And so during that program, that's when the Leader Story was born, right? So I'm still in my day job here, but it's a bridge job. So I know that I'm pivoting into executive coaching, and in all my corporate roles, I tell them that, yes, I do HR, and that's my background, but I specialize now in executive coaching. So I still, and so now I coach women inside corporate America, so senior directors and above. And yes, we do HR strategy work. That's my HR consulting piece. And then we also do the deep internal work, behavioral assessments, and then working 12 months on their inner self and their life and leadership transition plans. So, I do coaching inside the corporate world. And then as part of that, I then pick up clients under the Leader Story. And back to what you were saying, Matt, it's, I love working with private clients because, as you said, I get to choose who I want to work with versus being given, well, this is the lost leader, you must work with this person, and given a mandate, right? So with my private clients, I'm very selective. I call them the hungry hippos, the women who want to do more, who have big, hairy, audacious goals, who want clarity. And so I have a handful of them, probably 5. I wouldn't go above 5, just so I can really work with them one-on-one. And to just get that big, hairy, audacious goal. So that's how that happened for leadership coaching. And then, when they say, do you find the niche or does the niche find you, that topic or that saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is 2020, right? Like this is all 2020. We'd moved to America. I'm doing HR. I've got, in-house coaching pieces. And then Clubhouse came along. And so that was December 28th. 2020, that's when I joined, right? Like, so if you look at my bio, that's when I joined, end of the year. So really, I was kind of active January 2021, right? So here I am now in Clubhouse. Someone has given me an invite. I was kind of like, what is this about? And I just kind of started playing around. And honestly, I'm 4 months in now, 5 months in, and I feel like the niche has found me. Yeah. So of course, what's Clubhouse? Clubhouse is only 12 months new, and I wasn't searching for it. And I've got an invite, and now I love it. Love it. So now we coach inside Clubhouse. So with my leadership coaching, we do rooms, we coach people live on stage, just to help them through their blockers. We answer leadership type questions, and we just have different rooms and different topics about how to build your business, how to get clarity, how to work with your imposter syndrome, how do you deal with leadership challenges? And so these are the type of rooms that we run inside Clubhouse.
Yeah, I love that you shared that, like, the niche found you, because that can happen more often than we realize. I know a lot of my clients, like, they start with one niche, or they think they're doing one thing, and then all of a sudden they realize they're attracting this specific type of person or this specific group of people, and they're like, oh, like, this is who I meant to serve. This is who I'm supposed to be working with. And this is how I'm supposed to be showing up. And it takes a little bit sometimes for us to catch on to it and realize oh, this is my new niche. And it starts with you, right? Like, you get to pick who you want to work with, but then at the same time, you're going to also attract the right people to you and the right types of clients. And I love that, Clubhouse, it's brand new. People are still filling out, I don't even know if at the time of this recording, I don't even know if people with like Samsung phones are even allowed to be on there yet. I don't think so.
It's coming on.
I know it's coming, but it's like one of those like, it's like almost like a secret speakeasy as Clubhouse. And I know so many people are, having really true, authentic conversations and building relationships and getting clients and finding new ways to market themselves on there. And then I also know other people who are like, I get into a room and I don't know what to do. How do I get on stage? Like there's so many people that have so many questions and different things like that. So I'm curious, how did you find the experience to like get to a point where you feel like I can teach this because you have done so well with it, right? Like what secrets do you feel like you know?
Yeah, so I'm a kind of go personally, outside of just as Rowena, I'm a very go with the flow kind of person, right? That's just me naturally. And so how do I start in Clubhouse? So I got this invite. I'm the kind of person that's like, ooh, what does this do? I'll just dive in there. And in the beginning, won't lie, I would open rooms, I'll go on stage, I'll say my piece. That was really fun. And then I'm like, okay, I'll just try opening a room. That's cool. No one showed up, right? So I'm like, okay. And that happens several times, right? And so then, of course, you're disheartened and you're like, no one showed up, or maybe one person showed up and then they'll leave quickly and all this. So it was bumpy, as always. But I couldn't stop thinking about the concept of coaching and doing live coaching on there. And so I opened up my rooms and like 1, 2 people would come and it's just like, wasn't a thing, right? So, but I committed. I was committed to, if I said to myself I was going to do an hour, I held that space for an hour and I stuck in there. And then I was like, okay, what is this club business? Because now I'm starting to hear about clubs, and this is before anyone could open a club. And so people are like, okay, you got to get into a club, yada, yada, yada. So now I'm like, okay, I'll get a club to sponsor me, right? So now I'm looking for coaches and coaches clubs, and I'm now emailing people who had already established their own clubs.
Yeah.
And so that back then it was 12 months ago, right? But back then, 12 months ago, you had to submit a request. So the early adopters had their clubs already approved and they had followings. And anyway, so I started emailing all these people and saying, hey, can you, like, this is my room concept. Can you sponsor my room? Can you please sponsor my room? And I just email people. And let's say I emailed 20 people, like 10 probably didn't respond. No, pretty less, like out of 20, probably like 5 responded. But I was super passionate and just kept emailing them. And then somehow I was on stage with the club owner. And basically we connected on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I'm really passionate about doing life coaching. Do you think you can sponsor my room? And he was like, yes. I was like, fabulous, let's go. And so he was super supportive. They have Coaches Corner is the club, super supportive. And basically I held my rooms and life coaching under his club. And that's how I got started. And then I had following, then I had confidence, and then I had friends that came on to help support me. And so we did this together. It was super, super fun. And that just gave us the energy to keep going. And then we were able, the app let everyone kind of open clubs, right? Now it's free for all, off you go. And so basically, once that happened, we opened up our own club. And when I say we, it's not a me thing. I have a partner called Neha. So she's my partner in crime. And so we're going on this journey together. So it wasn't just Rowena. Anyway, the day that they opened the clubs, Neha and I were just on the phone and we're like, hey, they just opened clubs. Should we do this? Within like 2 seconds, we had the iPad Coaches Club. We had Facebook, our group, just kind of like as a fun thing on a whim, right? Was it meant to be a thing? And we're like, oh, it sounds fun. We love it. Let's just open up, see what happens. And so here we are, fast forward all of that. We have probably 500 members on our Epic Coaches Club and probably a few hundred on our Facebook group, and then our LinkedIn group. And so again, it wasn't like we planned for this, like the 2-year, 3-year strategy planning, I feel like it's gone these days. Like with COVID, especially, so many things are just happening so quickly. So that's how like my Clubhouse story, it's kind of like, wow, like I wasn't expecting this, but it's fun. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. And I love that because some of the best things in business happen sporadically. Like sometimes we spend, and I'm a planner, like, and I still plan like all the time, but I definitely am open to like when opportunities come that I hadn't expected into my plan. And I'm like, okay, how can I like capitalize on this? How can I make a move now and not like, oh, I'm going to wait and add it to my plan because it's not my plan. Because I think there's like that ability to have a really strong plan that you're working, but also the flexibility in it to go like, there's an opportunity here. How can I, jump in on this and get it, especially like while it's hot right now for Clubhouse, right? Because especially like 5 months ago, a year ago, like those early adapters, like were able to make big changes and really get acclimated into Clubhouse and really do big things. And I know for myself, I struggle sometimes with like finding the time to like get on Clubhouse and like join conversations and rooms. And the times that I have though, I've had such like just even sometimes just listening, like some of the rooms are so big, it's like impossible to get pulled up on stage, right? But just listening to like how people are saying things and what they're talking about and like what like their stories and what matters to them and how they came to where they are, like I'm like, it's so inspiring. It's like being at a little mini conference and getting like a little boost of like live and in person conversation, like you're a fly on the wall almost.
Absolutely. And like, yeah, agree with everything you're saying. And the fact that I'm a mom, I'm in my pajamas, like I actually did my hair and makeup today for you, Darlene, but usually like, usually that's why I love Clubhouse. And so if you look at me, like, if you follow my social media platforms before 2020, I probably wasn't active, right? Like, so like I zero existence kind of, apart from just like my main stuff, like placeholders, like my LinkedIn profile. Honestly, you'll be able to see the transition between 2020 and 2021. Clubhouse now drives all my other social media platforms because it's easy, it's audio only. And so I'm doing more lives now because of Clubhouse. People want to talk about Clubhouse. But again, it started like, and it's still fun for me. Like as a working mom, like as you said, like I can just pick it up 5-10 minutes. It's a drop in, drop out audio, no hard feelings. If you can't stay the whole hour, you just come and go as you please. Like that's what I love about it. But I agree with you. I think the large rooms, I go in there for just listening and learning. But for me, I love the kind of like 15 to 20 people in a room, because then, as you said, I feel like I know you, I see the same people again. We're accountability buddies now. We have the same interests. We iron sharpens iron. So I learn from you, you learn from me. Community is there.
And the community it's a great place because like you said, like people are able to show up no matter what's going on. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to be on video and I have to have my hair. Like most of us aren't wearing pants these days, or at least cute pants. We're maybe wearing something, but leggings or workout pants, and we might have like our hair done, our makeup on, a cute shirt on. But with the Clubhouse, it just gives you that ability just to show up as you are and not have to worry about like, what are people going to think, like the judgment of like video or those different things.
Absolutely.
And we're busy and we're staying home all the time, and some days you just don't want to take a shower.
So, yes, absolutely. Yep.
What would you say has been like one of the biggest obstacles or challenges for you as you have started to grow this business?
The Clubhouse business?
Or like, yeah, just your business in general.
The biggest challenges, probably for me is back to the client avatar, to really understand their pain points still to this day, like, and to be able to speak to them and speak to the pain points. And so previous to Clubhouse, right? So women, senior directors and above, the whole market research, the whole client avatar, what are your pain points, using it in your language, then like repeating that language and just like really doing that research on the client avatar. I think that for me has been the most challenging. And it still is, because it's just like, I want to use your words, I want to understand. You have to poke and poke and poke and validate and poke around. So that's been the challenge on that end. And then the same with Clubhouse, because it's so new, we're all trying to figure it out together. And so again, it's just understanding, what do people want from it? What are their pain points? And then testing the product to be like, does it deliver? Does it deliver? Does it deliver? And I think the selling piece for me, like, it's always closing the sale. Like, in coaching world, we are taught certain skills. It's a lot about questioning. And so then to sell, it's very much consulting and very much, here's the process. And it's a totally different skill to then close the sale, ask for it, let's move on. And so to put on those different skills has been like challenging. because in my HR world, I've got to be empathetic and, it's very client-led.
Yeah.
And here I am in my business saying, not client-led, this is the process, this is the package, and it's just a different feeling. I'm getting more confident for sure, but it's definitely a skill set that it just, it didn't come naturally.
Yeah, I love that you share that, because so many of my clients come to me, and that's the biggest thing that we struggle with as entrepreneurs is like, we're really good at our craft. We know what we're doing, but figuring out like how to message to those people and really get them to lean in and understand exactly who we are and what we do, and connect the dots for them, like on the journey process, like, hey, you're over here right now and you want to be over here. Here's how I can connect you and kind of bridge that gap over, is a huge piece of it. And it's about the messaging. It's how you introduce yourself and how you explain what it is that you do. And it's trial and error in the beginning. Like when you're first starting out, like you're like, I'll help everybody. And then all of a sudden you realize like,
Right.
I'm actually really good at Clubhouse, and I'm like, got this niche now. And now I'm like changing how I'm marketing and messaging myself, because now I have the ability to really hone in on this specific group of people and make an impact with them. And then connecting, but what keeps them up? My favorite question is like, at 2:00 in the morning, if you can't sleep and you're the ideal client, like what keeps you up at 2:00 in the morning, and why are you like the coach, the solution to that problem? And it's so powerful when you can connect those dots though and build that bridge together. And it's about meeting them where they are. So often we think, oh, well, I'm the expert and I know how to solve this problem, and here's what you need to do. But our clients don't always know that we're the solution, that we're the expert, that we know how to solve that problem. I think my favorite example of this is like a dating coach, where you might have a client who they think they have a horrible dating profile, and you're telling people like, I'm going to help you find your soulmate, and like, find the love of your life, and like you'll have a perfect life or whatever, like you have like that difference. But you're over here talking about the soulmate, and the client's like, well, I just need to update my profile. So if that dating coach goes over and says, hey, let me show you how to update your dating profile, and then they take them on the journey to find that soulmate, they can connect those dots so much easier. But so many of the clients that I talk to are like, but find your soulmate and do this, and like they don't ever like meet them where they are. So my best advice usually to clients is like, meet them where the client is at. Like that's what you have to have, that market research conversation, and really dig in and say like, what's coming up for you? What problems are you having? What do you feel like the solution would be if you knew what the solution could be, right? And have those conversations. And that's when you can connect those dots and really make that messaging stand out and really connect in that way.
Yeah, and great points. And like the other thing that I come to realize with the messaging piece is that a lot of people think that they'll be happy when they get to the destination. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be super happy when I get that promotion. And what they often mistake it or confuse it with is the feeling. So when I get that promotion, I'm going to feel like I have financial freedom. I'm going to feel like I am able to empower others and lead and be my purpose. And so I've come to recognize that the messaging piece is also, and this is also where I'm not good at, I will admit, is in feelings. So to sell the feeling, so back to your dating example, yes, your soulmate is here and we're going to try and get you to the outcome, but through this process, we're going to help you feel confident in yourself. And we're going to help you feel self-love, that, whatever step on that journey, you are going to be confident in your own truth and in yourself and all that touchy-feely stuff, right? And that is kind of where I get challenged as well in the messaging, because I want to sell the results and dream. But, I really want to get better at selling the feeling of freedom and happiness and joy and whatever the core values are that come with it.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because those feelings, like that's where people really are connected. And that's why, like, sharing your story and your journey is so powerful when it comes to connecting with other people, because they're like, oh, like you get me, like you might have a different story and it may not look exactly the same, but because of the feelings that they pull up based off of the story that you shared, like that's when they're like, oh, like Rowena gets me here. Like, this is what I need to talk to you more. And that's when that messaging pulls together, is when you have that story piece. And people, and like most people think like, oh, well, my story is going to be different than everybody else's. Like, why should I share my story? And I'm like, no, that's why you do share your story, because we're all different. We all have different, life experiences, work experiences, our teen years, our elementary years, are all, childhood is different, but we can all find a connecting point when somebody's sharing their story. They're like, oh yeah, like my story is different, but I feel that, I connect with that. So I'm so glad that you brought that piece up, because that feelings is so huge. That's what we connect on. That's like our
Yeah.
souls connecting.
Yeah, it is. It's heart to heart, right? Versus head to head, and we in coaching world, we call it holographic thinking, which is to check with your head, check with your heart, and check with your gut. And in corporate world, this is where I have to unwire myself. In corporate world, we think with our head, results, revenue, sales, blah, 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 FTEs, headcount. And it goes on with metrics. And so that's very much analytical headspace. And then it's too woo-woo sometimes in the corporate world to come from a heart-centered space. But you're right, super powerful. And that's why I like storytelling in corporate world. And TEDx, a lot of the corporates are doing TEDx storytelling techniques, because they realize, back to your point, like the heart-to-heart connection is huge. And it's been proven now that better leaders are able to tell stories and are able to lead better and get the point across with stories. And so now it's become this huge thing in corporate world, where it really is just basic human nature, right? Like that's what we were born to do.
Yeah. I feel like in corporate too, like everybody's in their head. And when you can lead from your heart and your gut versus just your head, like your head's important. We need our head still, but like I'm all about like leading with your gut and your heart first, and your head will follow. Like you'll have comments and decisions, you'll make good choices for yourself. But too often we stay stuck in our head and we don't really listen to what the heart wants or what our gut's telling us. And that's when like we make poor decisions. We do things that aren't empathetic and like don't feel good for other people, and we make those rough decisions. And when you can like pull all three pieces together, so powerful.
I love this topic. I love it.
Yeah. What does success look like for you in your business? Like if you had to like give a definition to like your success, what would you say?
Oh, you know what? I love this question, because that definition has definitely changed in time. So in my 20s, I'm Asian. My parents are tiger parents. And so it was very much corporate career, earn a lot of money. I'm in my 30s now, late 30s, and I have my kids of my own. And honestly, it's no longer defined by money. It really is defined by fun and purposeful work. And so my clients would be like 5 to 9 clients, and I call them the hungry hippos. But these are the people that bring joy and fun. Like it's effortless to work with these guys, right? And so it's like, just energy attracts like energy. And so it's just fun to work with these guys. And so what does success look like? 3 days a week, 9 clients, kind of what you were saying before. You get to work, you get to choose when you want to work around your family schedule. And so that's what is important for me now. And so I will be scaling back my corporate job, and they know about my side. I don't want to say side gig, but as you said, I have a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9 is what I tell, my 9 to 5 job. And so they know about my 5 to 9, and they know about my intention to go into a 3-day week. And so for me, that's what success is. I want to spend time at home, family, and fun work, like purposeful, meaningful, fun work, and choice. That's my biggest thing, freedom of choice.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so powerful when we realize that we have the freedom to choose how we want to show up each day and what that's going to actually look like. And like our parents didn't get it. Like my parents were the same way. Like that when my mom had already passed when I started my business, but like all of my family members were like, what do you mean you're leaving retail management? Like you've got this successful career, you're making great money. Like it looked good from the outside, right? Like the resume looked great and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't fulfilled by it. And so I think it's a different shift, because I know like as we're raising our children. Like I'm totally encouraging my kids to like find their passion, like do work that they love. If they want to work inside a company or something, that's great as long as they love it. But I'm also like giving them a little bit of the itch, like, well, what if you started your own business? What if you did your own thing? What would that look like?
Yeah.
Not just settling, because I think that so many people, like generations in the past, have like settled for so long. Like this is the generation that's like really stirring things up
I
and
totally agree.
making it different.
I totally agree. And so like in Australia, back to Australia, I used to work for farmers. I was in a startup company and I worked with farmers. And normally the farming world in agriculture, they encourage a gap year. So you go to high school, you're 18, and then you take a gap year, you travel around the world, and then at 19 or 20, you go to university, right? And for me, that was so foreign because I was a city kid, I was Chinese, it was not an option, you're going straight to uni, like
Yeah.
all that stuff, right? And so back then I was kind of like, what do you mean a gap year? Like I was judgmental, right? And I was like, huh? No, don't waste a year. You should be going to university, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, right? Like 20 years now, I'm like to my kids, like, you know what? Travel the world. Like being a global citizen and seeing different cultures and understanding that, I feel like being worldly in this day and age is so important. And yeah, you're right. It's changed everything, in terms of generational change. And I'm so open to it now. Like, follow your passion. Like, if you don't want to go to university, that's fine. As long as you're happy, you have to be able to support yourself. Okay, I'm going to draw that line. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, things have changed, and follow your heart. I think, age and wisdom has taught us that. And so now I don't want to be that tiger mom. And I want to be encouraging and saying, yeah, we'll support you. So yeah, I'm excited that your parenting techniques are like mine.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you can just be like, follow your heart, follow your passion. Like I wish I would have been told that younger. Like I was a teen mom. I had my oldest son. I had like right after I graduated high school. So I kind of had that gap year. It was built in a little bit different. Like it wasn't like travel. It was like being pregnant and having a baby and like figuring out like what that was going to look like. But I learned so much about myself during that time frame, and that's what that's all we can ask, right? Is like how can you really like tap into who you are and connect. And I knew that I had to do big things in this world, and I'm glad that I'm given the opportunity to do that, and I hope that my kids will do the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I want to see a photo of your kids.
Yeah, I'll get you one. I'll send you one. They're on my website actually, darlenehawley.com.
Okay, I'll have a look.
Before we wrap things up, I love to do some rapid fire questions just to get to know my guests just a little bit better. You don't have to go to just whatever comes to mind. What does your morning routine look like? Do you have a morning routine? Are you one of those people
Yes,
that has
yes. Coffee, coffee, coffee.
you're
Lots
like
of
one,
it.
three?
I have a K-cup Keurig before I leave the house. Then I drop them off at school, and then I go to Dancing Goats, and then I get a cortado. Sometimes an extra shot. So that's like almost like 1, 2, and 3 shots. So yeah.
Yeah. Gives you all the energy for the day, right?
I mean, it's no joke when you're a mum, right? Because the kids are like, wake up, mom, at like 4 o'clock or whatever. And just like, whoa, why are you guys here?
Go back to bed. I love
So,
it.
yeah.
Do you binge watch anything on TV right now? Are you somebody who likes to like
Good question.
shows?
So, okay, I never watched TV. Like just growing up, we weren't really allowed to watch TV. We had to play the piano, right? So I don't generally watch TV. But with that said, I'm binge watching at the moment The Crown.
Okay.
And have you seen that?
I have not seen that one, but I have heard good things about it. So
Yeah.
one of these nights I'm going to start it. I like to like once the kids go to sleep, and my husband usually falls asleep before I do. I'll watch like one show before I go to bed. So my binging, like if I can't watch like 10 episodes in one day, it's like one episode a night, and like I'll watch like usually one show before I fall asleep. That's my binging. But there's so many good shows out right now. Like I'm enjoying like Netflix. Like I love that the shows are just not like the typical like daytime or nighttime normal TV type shows. Like they're just they have more depth to them, and they're like deeper layers.
Yeah. Have you watched Tiger King?
I've seen it. My husband watched it, and I saw a few episodes here and there. Did not sit down and watch it, no, but I saw the highlights.
Yeah. So before The Crown, it was The Tiger King, and like it's like, you know, the bad car wreck that you kind of can't stop looking at. Yeah. So I have to confess, I did that.
Yeah, and like those are like the real, like I guess that's a reality type of show. I don't know. It's pretty real, right? But
It's yeah, wonky.
they're fun to watch occasionally because she gets sucked in, and you're like, are people really this wild? Like, are they this crazy?
Yes.
Oh, it's not just my family. There's other crazy families out there too. Good to know.
Oh, that's so fun. We should do a watch party together.
Absolutely, let's do it. um, how do you like to recharge? Like when you need to reset and recharge and like get back into your groove, is there a place you like to go or anything that you like to do to reset?
Yep. The coffee store, and it's just like me and myself and no one. The shower, like my 20 minutes, like my daily reset. If I'm working, I have my 20-minute shower, then it's pajamas on, and then it's just me time. So that's my transition. But that's it. Coffee at the coffee store. So Australia has such a coffee culture. And it's very, you know, you go to the coffee store, you kind of work from there, you read your book. So that would be my recharge. And honestly, like time with myself is the best thing. I can go for a walk, I can go for a run, but I just want time by myself. And when you have a husband and 2 kids, like that's all I want. Just be by myself.
I have found during COVID, I've always taken hot baths. Like I love hot baths. Like that's kind of like my reset recharge. But with not having the chance to leave the house very often, and like we're all, my husband leaves for work, but me and the kids are home, you know, all day long, and I don't always get that break. So I've taken to like 7:30 at night, like sneaking upstairs and drawing a hot bath, closing the door, just that like 20-30 minutes. It's so helpful. I'm like, whether I'm reading a book or I'm listening to something, or if I'm just sitting there with like the lights off and like being, like it's so powerful just to find that 20 minutes. Like I never realized how much my soul craved like that little teeny bit of quiet time.
Oh, absolutely. And like, do you have candles? Like I have candles everywhere.
I have candles. I
Yep.
have Epsom salt with essential oils or bath bombs, or you know, all the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every night's a little bit different. Depends on my mood. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, bath bomb, and sometimes I'm like, nope, I need Epsom salts and some essential oils in here.
Yeah, totally. And then after that, I put on like my perfume. And like, I know it's really weird because I'm going to bed, but like I literally put on like perfume before I go to bed. So yeah, because I'm just like, it feels good. Like you've just had a bath, you've had time, you smell good.
It's
So,
those are like the ways that are like self-care, like getting a manicure, getting a pedicure, taking a bath. Like they're like the not self-care type things that everybody's talking about right now. Like real self-care is like, you know, taking care of you and putting yourself first. And I think that those hot baths are such a like big piece of, for me, just taking care of me right now, like giving
yeah.
myself permission that like, yeah, I could probably do more cleaning in the kitchen, or I could do a little laundry, or I could, you know, sit on the couch and watch something with the kids. But I'm like, no, I'm going to be selfish for a minute. And it's not selfish, but I'm like, I'm going to go do me time.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Good for you. Good for you.
So, if you had to name one person, who would you say has been the biggest influencer in your life?
Probably apart from my executive coach, probably my husband. Just yeah, I mean, encouraging, has changed perspective. Just different. He's an American guy, so what, you know, American's finest, right? But just culturally, just different. I don't know how to say that. Supportive, encouraging, my biggest cheerleader, challenging. I mean, he would challenge and he would just go to the nth degree to like, let's go through. He's got a finance mind, and I have a HR mind, right? And so we're like poles apart. And so he's got a financial planning business, so everything's numbers, and I'm kind of like woo wee. So it's just great to learn from him as well. And just the masculine energy and female energy, like just how guys deal with things, right? And so perspective where they're like, oh no, this is what I'll be doing. And I'd be like, oh no, you can't do that. And then I try it. And I'm just like, wow, that's so good. And so just little techniques like that where, yeah, I mean, I would say Tony.
Yeah, I love that. And my last question for you today is, and I can't do it, but if I could give you a plane ticket and you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Back home, Australia. So we've been trying to get there, but with the whole COVID shutdown. So yeah, so definitely as soon as the borders open, we're buying tickets for all 4 of us to go home. So
That'll be amazing. Go be with, I'm sure you have a ton of family there and friends that you would just love to connect with.
yes, so my mom's there, and I'm missing a few weddings this year, and so I'm like, oh. So there'll be a huge celebration, and we're taking a troop of Americans over there with us. So that's gonna be fun.
That'll be awesome. I'll come with you. It's actually on my bucket list to go to Australia. So
2022, we're doing it.
let's do it. Awesome. Rowena, it's been so fun having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here and just show up and be you. I know people are going to want to connect with you. Where do you like to hang out besides obviously Clubhouse, but where else, you know?
Obviously Clubhouse at Your Coach Row, so just follow us there. And then we have Facebook group and LinkedIn group, and it's called Clubhouse Conversations. And so much like this conversation, which I loved, they're free community groups. So find your people, find your moderators, find your room topics, super supportive groups. So find us there and then just DM me. You can always go to lead a story, that's fine too, but Facebook is quick, as is LinkedIn, and I'm always kind of just writing back on the chats.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rowena. It's been so fun having you here. Any last thoughts before we end?
My question for you.
Oh, I get a question.
Yeah, you do. When are we going to do a room on Clubhouse?
Yeah, let's plan it. I'm all in, girl. Let's do it.
Yay! Okay. That's my last question, but this is so much fun. And thank you for having me.
People call my people and we'll get it on the calendar.
Okay, done. I
can't wait to come in and play with you. I've started a room on Clubhouse. It is kind of like what you were sharing earlier, like where I'm in like that beginning stage where sometimes we have 10 people show up and then sometimes we have no one. I co-host it with my friend Christina Green, who I think you've met with me when I did a room with you, a couple months ago now. And it's the same thing. It's like sometimes we have amazing conversations and then the next time it's like nobody shows up and I'm like, all right, it's kind of awkward and weird in here. Like, how long do we stay? So definitely working on my Clubhouse game. So I would love to come play. Yeah,
so we will sponsor the room because now that we have a bigger following, you'll just get more visibility. And then I started to figure out which times are best. So Friday 9 a.m. is a pretty good time, and then Saturday nights and Wednesday nights about 8:30. Yeah. So that would be so fun. Let's do a room. Okay, great. Yay! Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rowena, so much for being here with me today, and everybody else. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast and showing up with us each week. I so appreciate you being here, and we will see you next week. Go out there and make it happen, and we will see you next week. Take care.